Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the NBA, the B-Ball Breakdown live show on the NBA, coming at you as we always do on a Monday, midday on the West Coast. And as always, I'm joined by Andrew Combo Sal to discuss the latest and greatest in what's going on in the NBA, what you guys want to talk about, what the headlines are. Combo, how's it going, my man?
All is well. Thank God I'm not injured in any way, and I'm always grateful for that because I've been through my fair share of injuries. But unfortunately, there's a lot of injuries in the NBA, which is really sad. Some really great individual starts to the season. And, man, some of those guys that you just want to see what they could do if they could play the whole season are injured now. We got Kevin Durant. We got
Zion.
Ja Morant, we got Zion, and as you could see by the thumbnail, we now have Chet Holmgren. So it's kind of frustrating, but, you know, I wish all these players a speedy recovery.
For sure. You know, interestingly enough, Zion wasn't even as overpowering as we normally had seen him in the little bit distant past, where he was averaging 22.7, only shooting 45% from the field. So I might have to do a little deep dive into that and figure out what's going on with him, maybe when he starts to come back. But the Chet injury was against the Warriors, and the Warriors pulled out a nice win. There was a kind of a tight game, and having gotten shellacked by the Cavaliers, who we'll talk about later in the show. But nice win for the Warriors, have a nice run in the third quarter to take control of the game. And then we had this. We had a meeting in the air, as Chet will do. He'll try and protect the rim as much as possible. Did you – I don't know. I got to be honest. The fall – I guess my point would have been that I've seen a lot of players fall like that and get up and not break their hip.
Yeah. Do you feel like he's fragile?
We were always worried about that, right? We talked about this in the college as well. And in a way that like Wemby my antenna didn't go up with Wemby the way his movement pattern was and body type. But yeah, and I did see that Chet had tweeted out, I needed to kind of do some research because he said it happened before. Are you aware that Chip?
No. I think what he meant is that he's missed time before.
Okay, just random injury. Okay, another injury.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So he's gone through the foot injury that was also kind of again, is it fragile or that was a sort of a freak thing in a pickup game or like a whatever pro-am game as well, right. Which could happen. But all I know is that I've seen, Anthony Edwards go up and then land harder than that and, dust himself up and get off the floor. And so I'm worried about that with Chet. It's another example of him maybe being fragile.
If you ever watch the player dunk off 1 foot with 2 hands, it's like the most dangerous dunk, and you could like flip off the rim if you don't do it right. Oh. And I've seen that happen a bunch of times. It happened to myself once, and I've seen people land on their hips and not break their hips. But, it kind of matters the angle, the player's body type, as you mentioned. But I would say, you mentioned the player movement. I don't see a correlation between players like gait and that, right?
I guess if you want to get more gait, movement pattern wise, I suppose. It could be body type more is what sort of resonates with me. But that said, we've seen, other like Wemby, is in a thin body type style as well. But I don't know. I wish I could say more in terms of that, the biomechanics of it. But even still, he lands on his hip. He lands right on it. He gets his arms down first to soften the impact. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it other than it just feels, it was concerning. And he's going to be out. I know it's 8 to 10 weeks, they said, but he won't be able to move much at all until then. And I suspect that it'll take a while to get back into playing shape. So I would be surprised if he's on the court within, I don't know, I would say 14, 15 weeks. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I would also say we thought they were going to end up number 1 in the West when it comes to the regular season. Do you think that changes because now iHeart is out and with him out as well? When they come back, they probably won't be their full selves right away. Are you concerned about them landing at number 1 now?
Yeah, I'm concerned that they're obviously going to be worse. Right. They were my favorite. I was about to get a damn video out about them, how they were favored to be the title contender or title winners this year. So without Chet, obviously that changes a lot of things. He's a major rotational player. He's part of, what's the best part of their things. Like, for instance, like their starting lineup is kind of checking, and they have a nice balance. They have a lot of 5-man units that are sort of nicely balanced across minutes. But obviously the starters are plus 9.8, which is a really solid, net rating to have. with a defensive rating of 98.6, which is outrageous in this day and age to have under 100 for a defensive rating for a 5-man unit. And if you keep looking at some of the other ones, he's in the top 4 most played lineups. They're all positive net rating. In fact, and then one of them, is a ridiculous one. And it's only been played 3 games. But the point being that he's as integral as he is on both sides of the ball and does and creates a lot of those advantages that you can't find anywhere else with a guy that size that can do what he can do.
Yeah, there's nobody like him on that team. It kind of is like with the Celtics, right? Porzingis is never there, but he gives other teams a very unique look on both sides of the court when he's playing, and that's what Chet does for this OKC team.
Yeah. Speaking of another guy who's fragile and can't stay healthy on the court either.
Well, he limped his way to a title, so kudos to Porzingis, man.
He did. He made it through. He kind of made it through. Remember, he was banged up and didn't play the entire finals because of that. But probably spurned them on in that game 2 when he came back. Right, it was just awesome, and that kind of gave him the momentum that got him the title.
OKC is so dangerous not only because they have one of the best players in the league with SGA, and obviously Jalen Williams is an ascending star in his own right, but they have like 3 really unique high-level role guys, and Chet probably won't even be a high-level role guy when it's all said and done. He's going to be an absolute star, but with Caruso and now Iard and him, I mean, they're just so unique as supplementary players. And
the problem is that Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams who can play center for them, hasn't played. Do you know what his injury status is right now?
Well, if he's healthy, then he's going to play now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I know he wasn't playing. I keep seeing on the bench when I'm watching those games. Let's see if I can do a really quick news on him because I was just curious about that. Let's see here. It says he irritated the existing hamstring. Strain would be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks. But what's the date of this one?
So wow, they got three centers out of their rotation now.
Yeah. Oh, that was October 30th. So but that's still going to be, mid-December. So yeah, they're going to be struggling here to compete without size, and that's I don't think that they're going to be able to overcome that as well. They certainly aren't going to have the same winning percentage. I suspect it's going to go down. But you still have, again, like you said, they have the other Jalen Williams, and they've got Shea, who has been an MVP candidate down the board. And I like the rest of their team is just tough, defensive-minded, and they can do a lot of things even when they're smaller. Now, Hartenstein is supposed to be back at some point as well. I suppose I can plug his name into this and find out what that status is, unless you know. Isaiah Hartenstein is out at least a month, but that was
that's a while. That's a while back already. That feels like 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, a month from that moment would be next week. So and then at the very least for him, he'd be able to be running a lot of this time, so he won't come back completely out of shape. Versus like Chet, who will. So that's an interesting thing. So thanks, Bron, for that 1 to 2 weeks there. And don't forget, if you want your question answered on our show, the best way to do that is a super chat on YouTube, and it would help us really keep the lights on and the show going. And I really appreciate it. So if you're over on Twitter, hop over to YouTube. Come over there and check out there. It's a much better experience, right, Combo? I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah. So anyhow, all right. So yeah, it's a concerning thing, and it kind of puts a damper on it. The KD thing is also concerning. You hate to see that because they were playing it better and probably surprising a lot of people. Were you surprised that Phoenix has gotten out to this good start?
No, because they added Tyus, and they really needed that type of player to play that point guard role for the Suns because they didn't have a guy who could game manage for them. And the KD thing is interesting because he finished that whole game. He seemed fine, and now all of a sudden he's out. So, wow, that was really surprising. And he was playing at an MVP level, and it's really sad to see. Yeah,
and and you're right, Tyus Jones. Like his stats aren't going to be too gaudy, but like he just gives them what they were missing completely. 100%. And I love watching him play. He's just so I guess the word is calm under fire and just can kind of get people in the right spots. Doesn't turn the ball over.
Setting the table, basically, right? Game managing and setting the table.
Yeah, it's perfect for that team, and he took less money to go there because I think he recognized that, and that's a good thing for them. And they'll be able to be to maintain. I feel like even though KD goes down, they still have some big guns and they still have some size left around there, so they could actually, still won't. They'll lose some, they'll lose a lot, but I suspect that they might have a better record without KD than OKC has without Chet. That's interesting. What do you think?
Well, I think that's probably true because Bradley Beal could serve as a primary option in his own right. Like we've seen him do it with the Wizards if he could step up, but there's nobody on this OKC team that could fill in what Chet does.
Yeah, exactly. I think that they have a little bit more coverage there, but it'll be interesting to see how both of those teams figure that out. And then, over on the Pelican side, they've been struggling anyway. I wonder what's going to happen there. I would imagine that Willie Green's on the hot seat at this point. Even though Zion going down might give him a little bit of a breather. But are you hearing anything on that end?
I never heard that he was on the hot seat, but I mean, this team is a team that probably could blow it up eventually. And it feels like Brandon Ingram has been in trade scenarios for years now. And he's playing pretty well, actually, this season. He's playing solid. So we'll see what happens with that. It's interesting, the players that are like always in the trade scenarios that are helping themselves and the players in the trade scenarios that are hurting themselves. What do you think about like JJ banging his chair when D'Lo takes a tough shot? I don't think that's the best optics if you're trying to trade a guy eventually.
I mean, great on whoever caught that, because oftentimes, you don't even notice that it wasn't there. By the way, I'm doing my my Bucks video right now. Stay tuned. We're talking about Giannis and the whole thing with the Celtics. It's a really intriguing thing, right? Where you had Giannis nails Jaylen Brown and then fakes high-fiving him. And that's I like to hear what your reaction to that is. But I do also, as I'm talking about the Bucks monstrosity of an offense, it's it's not good. They're 21st, I think, in offensive rating. There's so much confusion going on. I got a great shot of Doc just like grabbing his head because Jackson's going in the wrong direction completely and then getting all in the way. That's a really bad look too. On top of the fact that Doc likes to just, hold his knees and just sit there bent over or stand there bent over. It's a bad look. But okay. The JJ Redick thing's interesting because obviously they'd cut D'Lo's minutes and then put him on the bench because of shot selection, I think, right? That's got to be the only reason that I can think of, because what made him so angry was a terrible corner three off an ISO step back, but got blocked. Yeah. He needs to, probably not show that. But the other thing is people seem to be responding to his accountability. You hear that word coming up a bit. And you also hear it in the context of perhaps there wasn't much under Darvin Ham, right? So although I have to imagine Darvin Ham probably would have gotten in some people's faces or something, but what you're starting to hear a little bit, and you always have to manage that in the context of when you say something about JJ, you kind of wonder, are they saying it because it wasn't there under Darvin? And I think that, welcome to the NBA, Coach Redick, is I think what I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, he's very emotional. We've seen him get emotional as a media member. We're seeing him get very emotional now. But I definitely think it's great that he's holding players accountable. I remember he told LeBron to shoot the effing ball. I love that. So they have a relationship where he could actually coach Bron. But, I mean, I do think D'Lo is a guy that they could trade. And I know people were telling me on social media when I mentioned it wasn't the best optics that JJ did that. Everybody in the league knows how D'Lo plays. It doesn't matter. That's not true. Optics, leverage, that all matters when we're talking about trades. So I think they are going to have to make a trade. I actually think like the Knicks are going to be looking to make a trade. The Lakers are going to be looking to make a trade. And I don't know, you've been covering the Warriors on the West Coast forever. Do you think there's a trade in there for them because they have so much depth?
Absolutely. No, they need to trade and send two players out and get one back. And
is that player Giannis?
Oh, I don't think that they have what the Bucks would want for Giannis.
I mean, I think Kuminga is like a really interesting player that a lot of teams would want.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, and he came off the bench again. I think he had 20 points. It's like, he does have an upside.
There's all-star potential there, right?
I don't know. I don't think he's the centerpiece, but it would have to be like Kuminga and at least one other player, and then at least 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, there was something. One of the sites had like. I always thought like the Warriors Bucks trade is somewhat realistic, but it was like so much in this fake trade scenario that they were giving up that the Warriors would say no in that scenario. So I wonder how they would would play out if they were in negotiation talks.
I would think that maybe they go for like a player like Ayton or Capella and do something like that, and then you probably can get him for that.
Aiden is interesting. Aiden is interesting because he's one of those players that hasn't impacted winning as of late, kind of like of the Wiggins mold, the Aaron Gordon mold, right? They're stuck on bad teams and people have somewhat gave up on them. But if you put them in the right situation, they could blossom.
Absolutely. Well, let's get really quickly. I'll get back to that, but let's get to some super chats that are coming in real quick before they get too old. Braun, Godfather of the Breakdown. Thanks so much, Braun from Canada. Always there for us, always giving us great super chats and great questions. So thank you so much, Braun. Great to see you as always. They say might have found the craziest stat of the season. Ooh, Cat is allowing 91.4% in the restricted area this season. Players have shot 32 out of 35. Now, you have to remember, like, I get a little bit worried about these stats because it's usually like if he's in the area and the shot is going up, then they count it as his defensive possession. So the guy, he might not be turned to that way. It might not be his rotation. There's a lot of other context in there, but I think I'm not shocked, if I hear that Cat is giving up an ungodly amount of buckets, is not effective down low protecting the rim. Are you shocked?
I mean, I don't think of Cat as the greatest defensive player, but 91.4%. I think he leads the league in that. And right behind him is Josh Giddey and Cam Thomas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
As you would say, it's not good, Bob.
It's not great, Bob. Can you click on the FGA on the field goal attempts? Will it give you the video?
For who?
I don't know if you're looking at whatever you're looking at. I'll go on stats on NBA.
No, I didn't. I heard it on a podcast today.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I can find it. I'll be able to get it either way. Probably worth a video, wouldn't you think? To see.
I mean, what's wrong? I think what's wrong with the Knicks is a good video. Yeah, I mean
they leveled out a little bit better, and they were like at least hovering 500-ish, and then that was.
I mean, look, I live in New York. They have championship expectations here.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is not going to cut it as of what they're doing now. And on top of that, Cat is playing like Cat on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's shooting over 50% from three. I think he's in the mid-20s for scoring. I think he's above double-digit rebounding. So they're getting everything they need from Cat on the offensive side. Like, where's the ceiling here? Like, where's the room for growth? I don't really see it. And especially they don't have much depth on top of that.
Absolutely. Right. And you know what? It's worth checking real quick. I'm kind of curious because I have to dive into the Knicks as well, I think. But I don't know. The Knicks fans don't flock to YouTube to watch videos a lot of the time. It's really troubling for me because I like the Knicks. I want to do more content. But, if they don't want offensive rating, they're second in the league. By the way, Cleveland's number one. We're going to get to them, and they have, I think, at 122 might be the all-time highest we've ever seen, which is every year is the all-time highest, but this is their year. And kudos to Kenny Atkinson for doing some stuff with there. I'm going to dive into them. I think. Let me know in the comments how excited you are about seeing a Cavaliers video. It's going to be a long time coming. I haven't done one, I don't think, in a while. Let me know because I want to do it and it's a great story. But if you don't want to watch it, then I don't know if I want to do it. But the Knicks rank on defense, they rank 21st. Yeah, that's definitely the lowest ranking in the Tibbs era. And there's no question that Cat would be a big part of that. Here's the thing, though. If he is doing really nicely offensively, then it does mitigate some of the defensive stuff, right? If you're going to create 25, 30 points for your team, and you give up on your end 15 or 18, well, that's still a net positive. It's not the worst, but when you're giving him up the rim like that and you're not effective at all, and he's the last line of defense, there isn't another Rudy out there with him generally to anchor the defense, then yeah, it's a problem. And we've already seen how Tibbs and him can clash over these kind of things. So that's probably the bigger concern, is that by mid-season, are they talking to each other?
Julius Randle wasn't known as a super great defensive player, but I feel like his presence is missed. Just the word presence on both sides of the floor, something you can't really add up on the stat sheet. But speaking of Julius Randle, I love how he's playing with Minnesota. Like, I like the Julius Randle version. I like the Minnesota Julius Randle version. He's passing the ball more. I think his body language is better. It seems like he's having more fun with Anthony Edwards. Could it be the honeymoon stage of things? Sure, but I like how he's playing there, and I like the vibes there.
Okay. Yeah. And again, he gets the benefit of having Rudy alongside him, so they can keep the defense shored up in case he's, not giving them what they need. And as it is right now, let's see, Minnesota, they're 6-4. So they probably had higher aspirations for the first 10 games as well. But it might be worth looking at their schedule real quick to see how tough it's been. But they deserve a video as well, because certainly what I'm kind of curious, I want to
What's their record? They're 9-4 now?
6-4.
6-4. Got you. Okay.
But I kind of want to dive in and look at at Anthony Edwards and his ridiculous volume 3-point shooting. but merited as he continues to shoot like 45% on, I think it was like 13 attempts. We've certainly never seen anybody do that before. And with his shooting style, I'm pretty clear that I'm like, I don't think he can be that consistent with the 2-motion shot and hanging in there and all that stuff. But he's figured out the calibration so far.
Yeah, well, I think he had somewhat of a tough night last night. I don't think it was. I don't think he shot it as well as he has been for this season. But yeah, I mean, in general, he's been shooting the ball great. And if he's going to shoot it at that level, you can't tell him no. And also on top of that, with Cat gone, he had to probably shoot more threes this season because he has to have that volume up to where it's conducive to good NBA offense in the modern game.
Yeah, he went 4 for 14, so not his normal standards, but even still, if you call up his overall, let me see what he's shooting now. Anthony Edwards is at he's still at 458, 45.8%. That's outrageous. Although the attempts went down, now it's 11.8, but still certainly a lot. And, you can keep your eye on that, especially as then you start looking at how's it affecting the overall offense. And right now, if you look at Minnesota, they're 8th. Okay. And then defensively, they're 8th. So, they're not, it's not a bad start for them. They're top 10 in both, but we shall see. We have Andrew Zhu has another super chat for us. Thank you so much, Andrew, another best friend of the breakdown. Always great to see you. Thank you. What do we think about the Lakers scapegoating Russell? So there's a little bit of an agenda with Andrew's question here, Combo. It's not even just like we're looking at D'Lo being the reason. It's that they're throwing him under the bus. Perhaps there's other reasons why the Lakers are struggling. Thoughts?
Do you think it's the Lakers that are scapegoating him? Like, are they saying they
have to do much work?
I mean, I think JJ came out and said, it was the plays before Russell, right? When he kind of had that tantrum I talked about, that it wasn't only him. So when he's talking to the media, I mean, I think they're somewhat protecting Russell because it's in their best interest to do so if they want to trade him.
I agree. And, Russell, I mean, we all know who D'Angelo is. He's not a great locker room guy. He will tease you with some play like, oh, yeah, like this is the guy. We could really ride this. And then he's not. And then you realize he's not the guy that you can rely on. He just simply is not. And then, you want to figure out a role off the bench, whatever, maybe okay, but that's about it.
I mean, even JJ said the reason he was benched, if you will, is that he get more pick and roll opportunities because Russell's good at pick and roll opportunities. So they're trying to say all the right things here.
Yeah. But if they're going to want to win games, they got to limit his minutes. He can't play more than about 22. That's the problem. Because if you give him the extra 10 minutes, then that's when you're going to get a lot of the other stuff that's not going to help you defensively at all. And then even offensively, and it's enough that you drive. LeBron doesn't have patience at this age, and he's not going to. And he's been through it already. They know. So I don't know how much value D'Angelo Russell has, other than maybe a contract that they can take on and then clear off their books later. I hate to say it because he's probably. He's a really good passer, when he throws those passes, and he can score. He can do some things. But again, if you want to be a championship contending team, he cannot be anywhere near your starting lineup. And so as a result, they shouldn't be scapegoating. They should be as positive as they can if they're, because I suspect they're going to want to move him, but I don't think there's a huge market. So it'll be a problem. And the other problem could very well be if they end up limiting the minutes and they bring him off the bench, how is he going to deal with that? And is he going to keep, the right frame of mind? I think maybe in this part of his career, he could, right? He's got it. He understands who he is and what he needs to do. And how close this could be for him to not having a good role. So we'll see, but we saw this with Russ as well, right? Once the decision was made and once the vibes changed with Russ, you knew it was inevitable that he was going to be gone, right?
Yeah, he's playing pretty well this season, though.
No, he's not. Sorry,
Westbrook.
He's not. He's right now on the all-time worst shooting of a guard ever. I think he's going to break the record.
He's had some big games with Jokic.
He had one, I think, right? One good game the other day.
Well, I was looking at something where they were comparing his stats to Jamal Murray's stats, and they seem to be a little bit better.
They're a little bit better. And but he was literally.
I'm sure. Look. If you dig deep enough, I'm sure you could find some issues with Russ. But I mean, overall, he's playing pretty well with this team.
All right, let's have this discussion for a minute. Russell Westbrook. I just looked at this. That's why I'm looking at it. So his stats right now this season, he's averaging 11 points a game in 24 minutes, and he's shooting 35% from the field and 30% from three, up from probably like 17% from three. So, okay, that's a significant bump up. But, everything else is still there. He's not shooting free throws well. And just the mistakes and the misses some of them are confounding. And to the point where I might kind of laugh out loud because you can't believe some of them. So I'm sorry, that narrative isn't. I don't think it can take hold, at least in my mind. I got to see a lot more from Russ more consistently before I'm willing to say, oh, he's playing better. Unfortunately, but I did the video where I kind of touched upon it a little bit. That was about a week and a half ago, so things have changed a little bit. But keep your eye on that, guys, and we'll see. We'll see if he can. Maybe he'll ride this a little bit more and find some more of a better role. But you can't really say he's been playing well overall. I'm sorry. Gumbo.
Better?
It's my show. I get to say whatever I want, right?
Well, yeah, we all get to say whatever we want, but I think he's playing better.
Okay, all right. I'll see that he's playing better, but that's
you even said he went from 17% from 30% from three.
Yeah, he did. I think he probably even cut. Well, did he cut some down, or maybe he shot more? He's averaging 3.3 now, and it might have been the saving grace to the 17% was that it was a low volume, and I can't remember. I'll have to go through it. But either way, keep your eye on it.
He's come up in moments.
Play better.
He's been coming up in big moments at times, though.
Yeah, and more importantly, the Nuggets are playing a little bit better now. They're 7-3 in their last. Well, they're actually open up 7-3 in their 10 games. It wasn't great before. I think they were 500 or like below 500. I think in the first several games of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Jokic is playing even better than last season with an increased 3-point percentage, and then some of his numbers are just absolutely ridiculous.
Insane.
So, yeah.
Insane. They started out, let's see, 2-2, 2-3, and then they've won 5 in a row. So there you go. And with a quality win over Dallas and OKC before Chet went down. So they might have started to figure some things out. And again, part of it is just Jokic. He had a triple-double, 30 points, and it's just insane. But let's get to our next super chat. It's also from Andrew. Thank you so much, Andrew. Let me make sure I didn't miss one.
Yeah.
Thoughts on a LeBron, LaVine, Davis big three? So they're talking about maybe bringing Zach LaVine over to the Lakers. If the Lakers can make D'Lo into LaVine, dear Lord, how could they do that? Could they do that?
So I think to Andrew's point of the super chat, I love that fit because Zach LaVine is the type of player that they're missing, right? That two guard who's super athletic, could get his shot off, could shoot threes at volume. They definitely need a player like that. And he's obviously better than any other two guard that they have. Even though I like Austin Reeves a lot, he's kind of like a combo guard. But I asked Jason Timpf of Hoops Tonight, what does he think about it? And he thinks like it's not possible from, the money and the roster perspectives and how things would work out in an actual trade. But to Andrew's super chat point, like I love the idea of those three when it comes to star fit.
Absolutely. I'm kind of curious because we know that LaVine has got a ridiculous salary here. He's going to be, he's making this year makes 43 million, next year 45, and then the year after that 48. Now, D'Lo's contract is probably pretty sizable as well, but it's probably 3/4 of that at tops. Let's see here. Let me see. D'Angelo Russell. Let's see what his salary is really quickly. Current contract salaries. Here we go. So he's making, he's only on 1 year 18. So he's making half of that. So you're right. That doesn't work. You'd have to send out, 3 players to get Zach LaVine. And I don't know who else.
I'm sure. I'm sure Dalton Connect would have to be in that deal because the Bulls are going to want good young players.
Yeah. And Dalton's good. He's not like amazing right now. His numbers aren't great.
I think he's going to be a pretty good scorer in the NBA if he gets opportunity.
I can't argue with that. But right now, if you just want to look up stats, it's like, it's not amazing, even though he's had some nice highlights. So if you're Chicago and you're looking at that, and you evaluate that, I don't know if there's enough of those plays to justify because again, you're taking D'Lo and it's an expiring contract, which is something. And you might be getting LaVine off of their team who's, maybe not happy. But yeah, I don't know how that works. Probably a 3-team deal would have to be involved. A third team would have to be involved. And geez, who knows?
I think Dalton on the Bulls, if he got opportunity on a team like that, he would put up big numbers, in my opinion. It's tough as a rookie playing with LeBron and AD, and then they have Austin Reeves as well. He's just not going to get that many reps on the Lakers. I think with one of the tanking teams or one of the worst teams in the league, he could put up some big numbers and really develop.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing LaVine in that offense, coming off to some screens, to some handoffs, and getting some space to go to work. LeBron would just sort of throw it to him in the backcourt and go stand in the corner and let him cook a little bit. as he likes to do. So that would be something that would work well, better than what they have now. So now does it lead to like more wins? Does it put them in a title contention thing with Zach LaVine? I don't know.
I think from a roster perspective, it can. It's just how fast could they get the chemistry going together?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be iffy on the title thing at this point with Zach LaVine. Maybe because of the defensive stuff. Although, there has been moments in his career where we've actually seen him be affected defensively. And the thought was always that when he had to do a lot on the offensive end, he doesn't, he's not as effective defensively, and he certainly would be able to balance that better with the Lakers, or could balance it well with the Lakers. But I don't know. The Lakers vibe is tough. It's a tough vibe, between AD and LeBron and the whole, the town itself. You got to be a certain kind of.
There's always drama there, right? There's always drama.
Yeah, there's always drama. You got to always be watching your back. And, but listen, LaVine grew up out here and played at UCLA, so he's familiar with that. But it's a different animal when you actually, get thrown into it. And
you think UCLA is the same as a team that has Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Bronny James, and JJ Redick coaching?
No, I'm just saying that, like, just being here on the ground in this city, he would understand what that is. He understands the deal.
Gotcha.
He hasn't felt it, but he would. I hope he wouldn't be like blindsided by like, oh, geez, they expect a whole lot here, And man, that guy's mean. I hope he wouldn't be like that. He'd know. But yeah, I don't know if LaVine moves the needle for the Lakers enough to do a title. Now, who would? It's an interesting question. I don't know.
Jordan Poole
would not move the needle for them for the title.
He's a champion. He's playing better this year. He's
playing a lot better this year. He is. He might. When anybody watch a Wizards video, they can offer you a Wizards video. I don't know.
I don't know, but I haven't heard that yet, and I think maybe we have something there. Try and get Jordan Poole.
All right. Oh, shoot. Well, you know what? We have another super chat. Sorry, Joe B. Forgive me. Who's always out there. Thank you so much. Great to see you. And I didn't scroll enough. My fault. But here we go. Let's get to it now. Joe says it's still early, but the Sixers and Bucks having worse records than the Pistons at this point in time is nasty work. Yes, the Pistons are a little bit better on the margins. JB's got them doing a little bit better. I don't think it's that functional yet. They probably need to do some more roster adjustments, I suppose is the word. But the Sixers is easy, right? Joel hasn't been playing, and
Maxi's out, and Paul George still has to get into shape. And he's on somewhat of a minute restriction, it feels like, because he didn't play overtime last night. The Pistons, though, the Pistons are, first of all, they're underrated, even though the record might not totally imply that right now. And Cade Cunningham is such a good basketball player. He is really good at. He had 2 or 3 triple doubles in a row. I think he's the most underrated player in basketball. Jaden Ivey has been playing better this year. Jalen Duren is an ascending big that's still getting better. They're good. They're good. They're good for being bad, shall I say? They're not a good NBA team, but they're a lot better than last year.
They're better than last year for sure. Right now Detroit is, what's their record here? 4-7. Just tied with Atlanta for the 10th spot. But it's a little bit better, and we'll have to see. Oh, by the way, we have to talk about Benedict Mathurin. I didn't get a chance to go break down that game though, or look at his scores, but he went off. Did you watch that game?
Yeah, I watched it. I posted us talking about him years ago that I thought, he was a guy that could. I just always loved his mentality. Like, he had that killer instinct. He was athletic. He could play both sides of the floor. And he's gotten better at creating his own, as we could see. Him dropping 38 points on the Knicks. Halliburton had 35. He's been getting a lot of criticism lately. So it's good to see Indiana back in the mix playing better. But, man, that's a tough loss for the Knicks.
It's a big win for the Pacers as well, because they were kind of, I don't even know what their expectations were coming out of the gate, having, gone deep in the playoffs and bringing Mathurin back. But, they're 5-5 now, and they're kind of just sort of maybe feeling some things out. But we've been on Mathurin's train for a long time, and it's great to see that happening. And maybe that's the one thing that they were missing last year. Certainly just having a guy like that. I don't even think he got better at ISO and scoring on his own. He's great at that either way. Like, he was a killer right from the start. So, I want to get into the Pacers. I got to try and break that stuff down. Now, the Bucks, obviously, when you have Doc on your team, and talking about bad optics, I said I got a great one where he's just grabbing his head, but you got Darvin Ham next to him, and they look at each other, and they got these freeze frames, these still images. It's not a great vibe either on that end. But I got to tell you, having heard about how Doc worked in Philly, and then now here, it's like the fact that the offense is not that clever, and it's not really moving, and they're very low in all the metrics in terms of offensive mileage, movement, and passing. Here's the thing: you don't have to pass the ball a ton and have players move a ton to be a really great offensive team, because like the Celtics are all ranked very similarly to them in those two metrics, but the Celtics sets are much more clever, and they have much more shooting, and volume of shooting,
and better players.
And better players. Yes, right. Right. Because after Dame and Giannis, they're relying on Prince. Here's the thing. I keep seeing Prince come up and having to make plays that he shouldn't be trying to make. His usage percentage is really low. I'm like, something isn't jiving with the video I'm watching, because it keeps coming up with him doing it. I'm like, geez, this is where they're at now. It's Torian Prince is left to be like the third guy or the fourth guy. But the numbers aren't exactly saying that, and I can't quite figure out why. But after that, who else are we talking about for the Bucks? It's Brook Lopez, who I think he's kind of washed at this point. And they don't have Middleton, and who am I forgetting? They have some, like young guys who are trying to plug in who don't really know what they're doing yet.
Yeah, when we just tried to compare it to the Celtics, but having Drew Holiday and Derek White as role players is absolutely unfair. That's one of the biggest reasons why it's a total difference. But they're not following your advice. I seen Darvin Ham and Doc still sitting together. Yeah, the one thing I will say about Doc, he's the best politician as a coach in basketball. He'll always get a job.
All right, we'll see. I don't know. This might be the end of the station for him, but
he can return to the Ringer with Bill Simmons if he doesn't get a coaching job.
Wait, return? Was he at the Ringer at some point?
Yeah, him and his son.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess doing a pod. Yeah. All right. I don't remember Doc being part of that, but okay, great. Yeah,
they were solid pods with him and Bill.
Solid. But, and why stop there? He can go back to doing covering the NBA, from the sidelines too on TV.
I think he likes playing a lot of golf, so that seems time consuming.
Yeah, but what? So how? Are you sure that's true? Because if he's standing the way he stands because his back is bad, how is he playing golf? Speaking from a guy whose back is so bad right now, I can't even turn my at all before I yell. But
when there's a will, there's a way, Coach Nick. If you love golf enough, you'll find a way to play it.
Yeah. Maybe it's a different muscle. And anyway, well, I think we're going to wrap it up soon, because I got to get back to this damn Bucks thing before I got to go record my political podcast and deal with all that, which is a whole other insane thing to deal with. Can't wait for the next 4 years. But what else? Anything else really quickly we want to touch on?
No, I think that's good, Coach Nick.
All right, good. Well, please don't let anybody else get hurt. I want to keep this season going. A lot of great storylines. Cleveland's a really good storyline to look at. OKC was until Chet, but we'll see how that shapes up. Maybe when Hartenstein comes back in a week or so, he'll make us forget about that.
The thing with Hartenstein and Chet and them not having any bigs, it could make the Lakers want to make a trade and the Warriors even more, right? Because they see this West is wide open, and then KD has an injury. This is the time for the Warriors and the Lakers to maximize, LeBron timeline and the Steph timeline.
Yeah, that is a good point. And again, the Warriors are motivated, and they have players that people would want.
100%.
It's a question of how they can do it. That's why I think that Ayton would be a good target for them. I think they could get Ayton for Kuminga, right, and Moody and a pick or something like that.
Do you think that so from a fit perspective, you think that makes them significantly better? Because
that's the question, right? It's is that what they absolutely need? They could use a big guy, a big player, a bigger, because Trace Jackson Davis is undersized as well, even though he can get off the floor. And Looney is effective. He's still out there. It's hard to believe, but he can't give them much more than about their 20 minutes a game, 18 minutes a game tops. And Ayton can shoot a little bit. He has some ability offensively, and we've seen him be the defensive anchor as well. So that just seems to be the guy. Capella is another guy defensively that they probably would like. But offensively, he's just still a bit limited and had stopped whatever progression we had seen from him several years ago. There was a moment there, I thought, where he was kind of developing into something a little bit more than just a lob threat, but I don't think I've seen that much from him in the last couple of years. Have you?
In terms of
variation of his offensive game, Capella.
No, I mean Capella is not in his prime anymore.
How old is he now?
Oh, Capella's older. I mean, like he was in his prime during the James Harden era.
I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, he seemed young then. No, he wasn't. Let's see here. I bet you Capella is no older than 32. What is he?
I mean, not everybody's LeBron James.
He's 30.
Okay.
So that's still a young chicken. He could definitely, a spring chicken, excuse me. Anyhow, my political podcast, if anyone's asking, like Eric is called the Muckrake Podcast. It's actually pretty big. But if you voted for the man in this last election, I don't know if you're going to want to listen to it. Or, maybe you want to come out and troll a little bit, but hey, go for it. But we'd love to have you. We have an open tent, right, Combo?
Do people from the other side tune in regularly? Do you have some of those?
A little bit. Every once in a while, you'll get somebody who is on that side, like on Twitter, who will comment on that part of the pod and whatever, which is always fascinating. But you never know. You never know what people want to listen to. But I think my biggest thing was I lost a whole bunch of followers on Twitter when I asked the Barstool Sports guy, Dave Portnoy. He did a video about how he's a moderate, and then laid out all these non-moderate points of view. And so my question was, how could you be a moderate if you believe those things? So that's definitely didn't fit in. And then people didn't seem to like that much. So
that tweet must have had a lot of reach.
I think it did because obviously people must follow me and him, so they saw the reply, and all I know is I guess my follower account was a little bit bloated. They wanted to kind of thin it out a little bit, get a little bit more focused. So I guess I did that.
Okay,
but listen, if you want to be for that, then just know what you are. I think that's my point. And know that you're not moderate if you are going to vote for Trump. I mean, that's all it is. So, anyhow, all right, I got to go, but awesome stuff. Thank you all for being out there for the super chats. Thank you for being part of the show. Lots of people here listening today, and we'll always be back again on Mondays. This is our sign. This is our place.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, wait, save your yes, sir, because I'm now going to do my sign off. So don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in,